You were 12 years old, riding in
14.
14, riding in the car with folks, got into a situation where a person ended up being murdered.
Yeah.
You've told the story. You were 14 at the time.
14 years old.
You didn't shoot the person, but the person died.
Yeah.
You did, how many, 10 years, 9 years?
I was sentenced to 12 years under the Texas Juvenile Determined Sentencing Law. And I spent right at 6.5 years in the Texas Youth Commission from the age 14 to 21.
So did that time teach you what you just said?
Yeah, it did.
Because the culture don't do your time.
No. I grew up a privileged kid, right? My mother was a financially stable black woman who landed a job at General Motors in the early 80s. So during the 80s, General Motors and other blue collar workers, that was the backbone of America.
That was considered, we have a good job.
What?
Job,
that was the real middle class of America,
yeah.
And you live good, right? So we had all the name brand clothes, but I was an entitled kid. I got an allowance. We had saving bonds. I had a piggy bank. I had my own room. So the shit that you laughing,
Charleston, now you showing our age. People watching don't know what no damn piggy bank is. Now you just took me back. Now you made me feel old because I had a piggy bank.
I just seen you laugh. So
piggy bank was when we actually saved money. Now you're too busy out buying shit that you can't afford to be somebody that you ain't arrived at yet. That's a piggy bank.
Yeah, so my mother was trying to instill good morals and good values into her kids. She was God-fearing, she was a Christian. We had to say yes, ma'am, no, sir. So that's prior to the gangster culture, right? So,
but your dad was a Navy officer. Was he in your life at this time?
Oh, he was in and out.
Okay.
Yeah. He was in and out.
So so you're with mom. Mom's at General Motors. Dad is in and out, but he's a Navy officer.
But I got an uncle.
Okay.
So this is the elements in most black families. Whether you got a good mom or a dysfunctional mom, right? You always got that element of that uncle who has access to what the kids hear or see, right? So it's the uncle coming through, whether he's a pimp, a drug dealer, a molester, a woman beater. It's always something of that image that has a negative influence within the family.
And the relationship that makes the pathway to that influence seem okay.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So just give an example. When Uncle Wayne was coming through with the 3-piece suits on, getting out the Rolls Royce, briefcase full of money, you see, as a kid, you see how the family responds to him, right? With your young and impressionable mind, you mimic what you see people admire in your culture and in your environment. But when you wake up one night and he's beating his woman, how do you wrestle with that? Mm-hmm. When you still see the family treat him in a certain element, right? So don't shame the negative attributes that you see. The uncle who walks through the house with the sagging pants with the gun, who still lives with grandmama, whose sister's just dropping the kids off over here, right? Grandmama just babysitting for a while, but the uncle still lives there. It's no different than the one who molests the kids, mm-hmm. who has access to the kids. So you end up mimicking that behavior. So I'm born in the 70s. My uncle was a pimp. The 70s and the 80s was the black exploitation era. It's no different than the drill era, the gangster era, the trap music era. We had a black exploitation era that was projected through Hollywood and entertainment. Superfly, The Mac, Penitentiary 1, Penitentiary 2.
Was Foxy Brown a part of all that?
Come on now. Mm-hmm. So when you think about Penitentiary 1, Penitentiary 2, as kids, we don't have access to these movies because they're not coming on television. Your uncle's got these videotapes, these VCR tapes. So we're watching them. So my name is Charleston. My dad's name is Charles Ray. My name is Charleston Jamon. But my pimp uncle, when I come home from the hospital, he called me Charleston Blue because there was a pimp movie called Come Back Charleston Blue that came out in '76. So they're already putting titles and labels on you as children that you just end up walking into, whether it's, boy, you gonna be just like your daddy.
I heard that.
Come on now. You might not even know your daddy, but the traits and those attributes are there because of the chromosomes.
So where was it that you were raised by the mom who had the great job, the decent job, the father who was in and out Navy, but it's still a positive image? Here comes the uncle. When did the shift happen that led you to prison?
Well, my grandmother's been to prison. So my mom would have to take me to go visit my grandmother in prison. My granddad ended up going to federal prison. My mom would have to take us to go see him. Then my Uncle Wayne is in and out. You know, the street hustling uncle who come take a bath over his sister's house, change clothes, wash up over there, get a nephew some money, let him ride in the car.
He must have read my book or something.
No.
Because we all have it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the people who sit and judge us, those of us who actually live through what we all go through, they go through it too.
Yeah.
That's what I find interesting about the culture, because on the outside, when you watch the social media or the interviews, like you have the same uncle.
Everybody have this element in their family. Yeah. Everybody got a molester.
Everybody
in their
that looks like us.
Every human being have a molester in their family.
Yeah.
They have an abuser in their family. They have an addiction trait in their family. It's in every human being, right?
Yeah. It's
there. So my mother is fighting.
Everybody at home right now is texting their molesting uncle.
So my mother is fighting to keep us from this. But because she's a single mother, and back then, there was really no resources to help single mothers. So my mom, when I'm getting out of school, they doing 12-hour shifts at General Motors. So when I'm getting out at 3, my mother is kissing us, literally saying, I got meatloaf on the table, the such and such in there. Make sure y'all do this. Leave your homework out on the table. So she's giving us instructions. Don't leave out this house. Don't open the door. I'm going to call this such and such, make time. So she's giving us instructions.
Yeah, we're not going to listen to that.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And so she's going from 3 in the afternoon to 3 at night.
Yeah.
So when my mama coming home, she's doing her due diligence. We better have the homework out because she going to work us up. Where y'all homework at? She's going to the extent of going to the bathtub to check and see if the soap wet, to see if we took a bath. Get up, boy, and take a bath. Y'all ain't took no bath because of soap. So she's doing all of that to try to instill good morals and good value. But while she gone, Uncle Wayne coming by cooking up dope. She got a sister who's just getting crack, came through 81, 82. So now my aunt is addicted to crack. So now my aunt is losing her place. Her and her kids have. My mom's trying to be the backbone to save the family. So she's exposing us to the negative elements of our families by bringing these family members into our homes, allowing them to stay with us, trying to help them. So we picking up on all the negative attributes. When we go spend a night over Aunt B house on the south side, over in the ghetto, we get to stay outside. So we picking up all these negative traits by going to go visit family members, coming back home in the well-to-do areas, mimicking the behavior.
Right.
Culturally. Because this is our culture at the time. So, man, by the time I played the flute in the 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade.
I played the flute in the 8th.
I lost my eye in the 3rd grade. I got my glass eye put in the 6th grade. So up until that point, I was in and out of hospital. So I had a private tutor. So I never really started going to school until the 6th grade, really. So I had 9 eye surgeries. I fell in the washing machine when I was 5. So between those 2 injuries, I really never got to go to school. I was a institutionalized baby. I had a tutor, a private tutor that came. So I was in and out the hospitals. So by the time I get in 6th grade, I'm a burst of energy. I'm a burst of energy.
But also you had been sheltered, so to an extent, so now there's this newfound freedom.
Yeah, there's a newfound freedom. So with this newfound freedom, I remember when Colors came out. I had just got this newfound freedom.
See, we the same age, so everything you're saying, when Colors came out, that was the one movie in the theater in our community where they killed somebody in the theater.
Yep. That's the first time ever. So, man, this was a phenomenon. So I done saw my Uncle Butch. I done saw my Uncle Boosie. I done saw Uncle Wayne. And plus, I done been to Aunt B house to see some of this on television, what I saw in real life. And the thing about children, they can't decipher what's real from television. So when a kid is watching somebody die on TV, they really think that person is dying because of the lack of brain development. It's hard for a kid to turn off TV and say that wasn't real. I don't care what you say.
Right.
So I'm seeing what I'm seeing on television, I'm starting to see in the community. The awareness is now coming because it's being propagated through the television screens. So it's like a veil comes off when I'm out in the community. So now I know what a gangster looks like. So now I'm trying to mimic it based off the culture. So this is just from television. Now here come the music. So now we seeing. Now, and we don't watch Penitentiary 1, Penitentiary 2, and the favorite character is Too Sweet. A little guy like me that went to learn how to fight in prison. So, man, by the time we're in the 6th grade, we're talking about what we're gonna do when we go to prison. Because now we've developed the concept and with our young and impressionable minds that Uncle Wayne done been to prison, Uncle Curtis done been to prison, so all these men in your family, you spend the night over your friend's house, all these other men done been, so you start thinking this the way. Because now it's being propagated to you as a kid.
But is that what led you on your
Yeah,
path?
hell yeah.
So you were influenced by your surroundings.
Yeah, my surroundings in television, because when my mother, I'm a kid that grew up watching television raise me. And I'm fascinated by the gangster, the negative stuff, because my uncles and them is exposing me to things. So I'm already impressed by it. So when I see it in real life, man, I'm fascinated by a guy that seems to be like what I see on television, like this. So I'm drawn to it because your mind is young and impressionable, and these are the guys who that you idolize in your homes. So when you spend a night over your friends' houses, you start looking at their uncles and their daddies to see if they got the similar traits. Guess what? They got the similar traits. His dad, oh, your dad is just getting out of jail too? Man, that's my brother.
Well, and in our community, people glorified it.
Come on now.
Yeah.
So a pimp, my uncle being a pimp and beating women, it wasn't shamed upon. So it wasn't nothing for me when I got in the 7th, I think the 8th grade, for me to try to slap my girlfriend like my uncle. And plus the music, like Eazy and them say, you pimp slap the bitch.
But
That's what the music said. You just a kid.
Did you pimp slap the 8-year-old girlfriends?
Yeah. I was trying to do what my uncles and them did.
What was so when you pimp slapped the 8-year-old girlfriends?
Now I was in 8th grade. I pimp slapped Michelle Carr. Cause she told all the girls in school that I didn't know how to tongue kiss, and I didn't. Cause when we was in the 7th grade going to the 8th grade, she tried to tongue kiss me, and that was my first time tongue kissing. And when she stuck her tongue in my mouth, it freaked me out. I didn't know what to do.
So you slapped her?
No. So when we broke up, so she was real popular in school, and so was I. So she went to school and told all the girls that I didn't know how to tongue kiss. And she was telling the truth, and I didn't. So I was embarrassed and ashamed. And so we was walking in the hallway, and she was pulling on my jacket. We wearing troop jackets back then. And she smashed my donuts. And so I used that as an excuse to try to slap her like I saw Uncle Wayne slapping women, right? But when I tried to slap her, my jacket got caught in her ear. And when I pulled back, it ripped her earlobe. And her daddy came running through the hallway. That nigga was looking for me, boy. Yeah. I got suspended for the rest of the school year.
You didn't mace him?
No, I was 13 years old and I ain't know nothing about mace. She had a dope dealing daddy. I was scared. Yeah, everybody was scared. Yeah, he running through the hallway looking for me.
So 13, okay, so when you slapped her, what did you feel? Do you remember?
Well, you know it's wrong. So because your mother teaches you different, but you trying to be like your uncle. In a level of shame, but you don't know how to say, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm ashamed, man. Because you still carry on. Because you just mimicking.
It's learned behavior, yeah.
Children mimic what they see and repeat what they hear. So I'm the nephew that's riding with his pimp uncle in the back seat with the hoes. So I might be sitting in the back seat with 2, 3 different prostitutes. But in my mind, these are my aunts. So when he riding and checking paper, so he teaching me this. So yeah, nephew, you ain't got no reason fucking with a bitch if you ain't got nothing for her to do. And I just be, eating a Happy Meal.
Learning the behavior.
Yeah. So all behavior is learned, either directly or indirectly, either being taught or through observation.
Well, when you're in the car with the guys, you're 14, they shoot the guy, you're telling them to shoot him, they kill him, he dies, you get locked up.
Yeah.
Did that experience make you go, this, when you get in jail or prison, this movie shit is not real?
There's a different reality that sets in when you partake or if you take somebody's life. It's not like the movies. The movie go off. When you take somebody's life, that scene never goes off. So it took a while because you're still dealing with a human that has an undeveloped brain. right? Yeah, the feelings were overwhelming, right? So the feelings of guilt, the feelings of shame, even embarrassment, it can be so overwhelming for a kid that some kids have committed suicide because the brain can't process these overwhelming feelings. It's impossible because of the lack of brain development, right? The lack of the prefrontal cortex, logic and reasoning. So you're trying to understand why I did this. You're trying to understand why I feel so guilty. You're trying to understand why I want to play tough around my friends and still act like weak. So you battling the fact that, yeah, I have empathy, but when you get with your community is clapping for you because y'all done killed somebody. So that's a hard balance.
Right.
And you really have empathy. And part of your redemption, part of your rehabilitation, part of your resocialization, all stems from you having empathy. You feeling bad for what you did. But your culture is saying free the killer. The culture is saying, yeah, man, that nigga killer. So, man, that's a hard balance. So to put a kid, for a kid to make that choice and that decision and put himself in that situation, that's why many young people never can recover from making this horrible decision at such a young age. And they can't change at an old age because the culture won't let you have empathy.
So K. White, your brother.
Yeah, Kevin White. Yeah.
He murdered somebody when he was 17, got arrested, did 31 years, just got out of prison.
It took him 20-something years to have empathy.
Did he go to prison for killing somebody before you did?
Nah, he went after me.
He went after you. So he saw what you went through and still did it. Is that product of our community? Is that,
nah.
what is that?
I'm the little brother. So my brother was already violent. But you gotta understand, man, we what you would call a wannabe kid. They come from the middle class community.
Which is a lot of kids, though.
We walking on marble floors. Our mom got the good cars. Man, we got our own room.
Shit, y'all had bar soap, not
Man, I had my own phone line in the 3rd grade. So that was unheard of in the 80s for a nigga to have his own phone line. Get the school handbook and call you. Hey, you know, can I talk to such and such? And your mom would say, hey, why that boy calling this late?
Right.
So man, we was very privileged kids. But because the lack of father, right? So most mothers can provide their kids with a perfect home life. But if they don't have a positive male connection, there's a negative attribute that attaches itself to a fatherless kid, and no one can explain it. It's like the little motherfucker just angry. So most little boys with their dad, with their loving mom, they seem angry. Or they got anger outbursts. They have anger management because they can't express, man, I want my daddy.
And they may not even say that, but that's what's the underlying.
The behavior, because you need, just like you need that white man's validation, you need your father's validation and affirmation just as bad as you need the white man's validation for your success.
And neither one of you got that.
Come on now. Man, I was smart in school. Man, I've always excelled in school. But because the culture don't clap for the smart kid, oh man, you think you smart. Oh man, you asking all the questions. So once you see that, oh man, you the teacher's pet. Oh man, you kiss. So you stop being smart in school. You start being the class clown. So because when I was 8 years old, my brother probably was 10. We were watching a movie. Out of nowhere, this 10-year-old kid says, ooh, man, when I grow up, I'm gonna kill somebody. Man, I looked at that nigga and ran downstairs, mama, because it scared me. In hindsight, the anger that I saw, man, I went and told my mama, man, mama, he said when he grow up, he gonna kill somebody. As the frustrated parent, tired, working parent, boy, come here. What you mean you gonna kill somebody? Man, rather than exploring that. So, man, grew up and killed somebody. And for a long time, man, my brother didn't have no remorse. Here I was, a kid who went through the juvenile system. And because I went through a different environment, I went through a different program. We had psychiatrists, we had psychologists. I grew up in an environment where all my childhood issues was repaired, right? it is much easier to create strong children than it is to repair broken men. So I went into an environment that focused almost 7 years on repairing a child and then creating a strong one. So that's what y'all see today. I went through a system that was able to create something like this. So my brother and them went to prison as teenagers. My friend there caught a double homicide as a kid at 15 years old. So they grew up in prison. I grew up in a juvenile system, so there's a difference. So I grew up with nurture, compassion, care. Them niggas grew up having to survive. So my brother, I had to cut my brother off because here I am working with children. I'm working with victims groups. And I remember my brother telling me specifically that he didn't have no empathy for the guy he killed because it was street and drug related. And I remember telling him that there's no way God would ever let you out of prison if you don't have no empathy, if nothing for his mother. My mother, she would always tell us, no matter how hard it got when we locked up, she said, at least I can still come see y'all. The other people can't come see their loved ones. So just think, so my mother would never let us complain because we were responsible for taking somebody's life. So she would never let us forget that. But my brother never thought he would ever come home from prison. My mother believed he would. But there's no way he could have came home and he not developed some type of remorse for taking somebody, even if he feels justified. You have to have some kind of remorse for the impact that you left on the family members. So eventually he got to that point, and then shit, after 31 years, the doors open.